Hey guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. This week we're going to talk about the import and export tariffs that have been really all over the news. One reason that I wanted to talk about this was actually because of something that I saw online that indicated that the luxury watch market from Switzerland is going to be tariffed at 39%. So I'm a watch guy. I don't know, some people know that about me, some don't. I've got some pretty nice watches. I've bought and I've sold, I've flipped some Rolexes and things like that. And I enjoy it. They're fascinating to me. I think timepieces are actually a really cool hobby. And I just like a nice watch. And so that's kind of a sector of the industry or the market that I watch pretty closely. And there are times where you can find a really good deal. There's other times where you can't, and everything in between. One thing that the Swiss watchmakers are really good at, and this is partially because each piece is handcrafted, but is creating a theory, if you will, of scarcity. So every Rolex that is built by the company is literally hand constructed. Now, I'm sure there are some processes in there behind the scenes that are more automated, but I want to say that every single watch is hand tested, hand wound, potentially hand pressure tested, and all the things that go into the behind the scenes of the watchmaking and manufacturing. But you think of a brand new Rolex, if I go to Rolex.com and I just build a watch, right? You can configure it to your specs. You can pick the color, the metal, the accessory, like the bezel, the dial, all those things. And let's say the watch comes to $10,000. It's an expensive watch, but let's call it $10,000. If the US is imposing a 39% tariff on these Swiss watches that are coming into the United States, what does that look like? So that's what I want to talk about today. Basically, most people think that, well, if there's a 39% tariff, they're going to go up and cost 39%. Or let's say Rolex is generous and they're going to eat some of that cost. Maybe the prices go up 25% and Rolex's profit margin goes down by the difference. I would tell you that that's false information. In fact, that's not even like good fake news. The tariff isn't on the suggested retail price. The tariff is on the wholesale price. So you look at, let's change industries completely. Let's go back to like tech. Let's talk about computer chips. And let's say a company like NVIDIA wants to import, 100,000 chips from Taiwan Semiconductor. And those chips are coming from Taiwan in this scenario, right? It's just fictitious, but let's just make this up. Taiwan Semiconductor is going to send to the United States 100,000 chips for NVIDIA to then put to work. Now, if those chips retail to you and I, or to anybody who's buying NVIDIA chips, let's say they retail for, $50. Again, I want to use round numbers to make this simple. But the wholesale price is like $10, okay? If there's a 25% tariff on Taiwan, the 25% applies to the $10 cost, not the $50 cost or the $20 cost, whatever the wholesale is. So again, if the wholesale price for this chip is $10 and there's a 25% tariff, you're looking at $2.50. So what ends up happening is that product that's now selling for $50 isn't necessarily going to go up to what's 525. What was the math I said? 20% tariff. So a $10 tariff on a $50 item. That new item doesn't have to sell for $60 to break even. Really, it needs to sell for the existing $50 suggested retail price, plus maybe the $2.50 of the tariff. I don't know if that made sense. I kind of lost myself in that train of thought. It works, that's the math. But again, if a product is $10 wholesale and it's a 25% tariff, that means there's a $2.50 tariff. So that $50 product doesn't need to sell for more than $52.50 because it's still going to have the same profit margin as it did before, and they're recouping the $2.50 tariff. That might have been a little more clear. So when I saw this meme, and I'm going to post it right here, but this meme of, or not even a meme, it's just a post of a 39% watch tariff. That doesn't mean a $10,000 watch is now going to be $13,900. It means that there's a 39% tariff on whatever the wholesale price is. Now, for a Rolex dealer to sell me a watch for $10,000, they're going to make some money on that. I don't know if they're doubling their money. I would say it's probably not as low as $5,000. But let's say it's $6,000 or $7,000, something like that. Now all of a sudden they're going to pay a couple $1,000s in tariffs. And so maybe now instead of a $10,000 watch, it's $12,000 or $11,000 and change or whatever it is. It's still an expensive watch nonetheless, and I'm not suggesting that that's good. But I guess my point is it's not dollar for dollar or percentage for percentage. The 30%, 39% tariff on a watch does not instantly make it 39% more. But what it does do is it promotes a healthy secondary market. So guys like myself who shop for really good deals, if I found a Rolex that's $5,000, maybe I can sell it for $7,000 or $8,000 or $9,000 or $10,000. Maybe I double my money. I'm not a wholesaler, so I don't get, the dealership, the authorized dealer pricing. But if I can find a good enough deal online, and there's several different websites where I look, but if I can get a good enough deal, and if I watch the market and know what a used Rolex is selling for, certain models go for more money. There's solid gold, there's white gold, there's platinum trimmings, whatever, right? And then there's stainless steel, which are going to be a little less expensive. And then of course, again, different dials and different bezels and different bracelets all command different premiums because some people want one over the other. There's the desirability. But all that to say, someone who studies the market and kind of understands what they're getting and what they can get out of it can make money, especially when tariffs are kind of running rampant. And these authorized dealers, again, still talking about watches, these authorized dealers have created, again, kind of an exclusivity, a feeling, right? So if I want the new watch, whatever the model is, well, you go into any watch store, any Rolex store, and there's going to be signs in every glass display case that says, for demonstration purposes only, or something along those lines. They won't actually sell you a watch. What they're going to do is get you to put your name on a list. And then what's going to happen is you're going to wait 6, 12, 18, 24 months or more. And eventually they're going to call you and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, your watch is in. Why don't you come on down and buy it? Well, let's say 2 years has gone by and my circumstances changed and I can no longer afford to buy the watch, or I no longer have the money I set aside to buy the watch, or I already bought the watch elsewhere, right? You tell the dealer, hey, thanks so much. I'm no longer interested. No harm, no foul. They don't care. They're going to go to the next person on that list or next person in line. But what ends up happening is someone at some point will buy that watch at manufacturer's suggested retail price, right? So again, in my earlier example, I said $10,000. They might buy that watch for $10,000. Now, the moment they walk out of that store, depending on the model, depending on what precious metals and what color the dial and all the things, right? They might have instant equity because the secondary market is so strong for these watches. And part of it's that demand that the dealer has put in place by creating a sense of urgency and a sense of scarcity. I don't want to wait 3 years for a watch. So I'm willing to pay manufactured suggested retail or maybe a hair more to have it today, right? So what ends up happening is I buy a $10,000 watch. I go home, I can maybe sell that watch for $11,000 or $12,000 depending on the options and all the things, because there are collectors out there, and not even collectors, just consumers out there that want to own that particular watch today, and they don't want to sit on a wait list. They don't want to deal with the BS that comes with working through an authorized dealer. Each watch comes with its own warranty card. As long as that warranty card is somewhat fresh, people don't seem to care, right? So the long and short of it is Rolex as a brand has created this sense of scarcity, which drives up the secondary market. Now couple that with proposed tariff of 39% in the watch market. And now all of a sudden you've got a secondary value or a secondary market that is very, very strong. Used watches are gonna sell for more tomorrow than they did yesterday. And that's just the way it's gonna be because of these tariffs. Now, if Switzerland circles back around and can negotiate with the United States and we say abolish that tariff or reduce it, okay, that eats right into that. But anybody who bought a watch a month ago doesn't have 49 or 39% equity in it overnight because of these tariffs. That's not how it works. It's 39% of the wholesale price or of the factory price. And sometimes that's even less if you're doing bulk buys. Anyway, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. The computer chips are a great example of that though. You know, you figure NVIDIA, if they're buying, I don't know how many chips at a time, 1 million chips or something like that, right? Now all of a sudden there's profit margins that are reduced because of certain breakpoints in your purchase price. If I buy 500,000 chips, my unit cost is probably more than if I buy 1 million or 2 million or 10 million. And so anyway, the tariff is a percentage of a fee based on that amount, not based on anything else. So hopefully that clears that up a little bit. Tariffs are a wild conversation and often misunderstood. So that's why I kind of thought I'd put this together and talk to you guys about two things, right? Something I'm a fan of. I really like high-end watches. I just think they're beautiful. And, you know, it's applicable to me because I'm always looking. And if I can find an opportunity to make a little bit of money, great, tariffs are fine. I'm not I'm not trying to capitalize on something that's hurting other people, but if it creates a very strong secondary market, well, that screams opportunity to me, and I like that. So that is something that I'm gonna be looking at a little bit closer. Like I said, I browse several different websites and look for several different things for good deals. And if I can find a deal, by all means, I'm not opposed to that. So tariffs have created some opportunity out there. They also hurt things too, though, at the same time, right? If I'm in the market for a brand new watch and I want to create a relationship with an authorized dealer so that I can get a better model down the line, you know, sitting on a wait list, being prepared to buy if you get that phone call, those are important things. And again, you can always buy watches on the secondary market, but a lot of the time there's a huge markup or markup because of demand. And then you're unnecessarily paying money for something that may just sit in your safe for a year or two anyway. And if you're not gonna wear it, what's the harm in waiting, right? So there's a lot of catch-22s here. And anyway, it's pretty complex, but at the end of the day, the watch market's gonna be changing because there's a lot of Swiss manufacturers, not just Rolex, there's a lot of them. A lot of these high-end watches are gonna get hit with some serious tariffs. And we're gonna see that coming down the pipe, and we're gonna see retail prices shift upwards so that these companies can still make their profits. So that's really all I got for you guys this week. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Make sure that you like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and most importantly, remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Until next time.